everything else that have been encountered by that particular protagonist of the novel. So this is about the journey. While hello,
Sir, in other sense, we can say that the point of view of the protagonist towards the characters, other
character,
characters.
other minor characters. So the protagonist must be
Yes.
starting journey from one place to another. This is a journey novel. So Bhosh is
Yes.
a journey novel. Then you see that also melodramatic fiction, melodramatic novel is there. Melodramatic means the horror and terror, the picture of horror and terror, the tragedy and trauma, and all these things are found in the novel. The protagonist must go through difficulties. Suppose I am citing one example of Thomas Hardy. Thomas Hardy's novel, Jude of the Obscure, or another Mayor of the Castor Village, and Under the Greenwood Tree, A Pair of Blue Eyes. These are the novel of Thomas Hardy. These are supposed to be picaresque novel, means the protagonist of the novel must be lower birth, or he or she must have the very less surrounding, not urban life, sophisticated life, not a sophisticated family. They belong to the minor family. So this is called the picaresque novel. So historical novel means the historical character. So suppose I am going to write Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar's life may be portrayed the life that Brutus, how Julius Caesar was butchered by Brutus, and this is about the historical events with colorful imagination and a realistic portrait given by the particular novelist. This is called historical novel. So then also comes realistic novel. Realistic novels are also various types, and they portray the real life of an Aboriginal novel. So Australian people since must be not so particular about their culture because that is told to be salad bowl. The culture is multicultural. So Aboriginal novel is also remarkable in Australian literature. And Aboriginal means the native people were suffering a lot only because of the immigrants. They come from different land, from the Britain, from America, from Indonesia, from India, like all these lands. They started flowing over the land in the 20th century first quarter. Only for that, the urban setting like Melbourne, Sydney, all these cities are being populated by the immigrants. The immigrants started displaying their own talent, own culture, own currency, everything else. That was the actual torture and tormention, and that pictured in the novel. That is called Aboriginal novel. Aboriginal novel is also remarkable. That has a sequence of Australian literature in the 20th century. Aborigines means are considered as the lower persons, hateful persons. They were not being attracted by the other people, and the particular immigrants started playing supremacy or hegemony over them, their culture, their living, their writings, and everything else. So, really, the voice of Aboriginal novels tell about the different torture and tormentation of the people of that particular land. Then we must come to Bhas. The theme of Bhas gives about the theme of the horror and terror. The horror and terror of the natives, how they were tortured by that hegemony of immigrants. It gives the theme of romantic relationship and bush life, exploration of Australian ecstasy. So, bush rangers' life through fellow travelers, and that Patrick White writer was since born in 1912 of Australia, and parents from England, they have been migrated to the soil of this particular Australia from England, and his first novel is Happy Life, Happy Valley, Happy Valley. The sense of quest is another theme of Australian novel of Patrick White. The verse is based upon authentic historical events. This may be considered as the historical novel so far. This is based upon actual experience of Elizabeth Fraser. Elizabeth Fraser is a historical character, and she herself with her husband started to going Queensland that in the east coast of Wales in 1939. Aborigines captured the natives of that land. They captured these husband and wife, these couples, and they were kept under the control of them. They started also torturing and tormenting about their living condition. And Bose was supposed to be the same theme that has been borrowed from these historical events, which was uh, actually happened. And this looks into the romantic and a realistic dimension mystically. This is technically Patrick's artistic craftsmanship. So Patrick's artistic craftsmanship is that the technique of the novel must be abrupt. The beginning of the novel must be abrupt. The protagonist of the story must be very much important. The protagonist of the story of this verse is the imaginary character. Bose is not a real character, but historical events has been borrowed with colorful imagination by the author, and author himself is actually painting the novel with his pen portrait by the imagination, taking the realistic life of Australian people, the realistic portrait of Australian native people, the realistic portrait of the immigrants, how they were behaving to the native Australian. All these things were being portrayed in the novel, and this is Patrick White's technique. Patrick White was strongly influenced by English novelist D.H. Lawrence, James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, and uh, other writers like Thackeray, James Joyce, Thomas Hardy, D.H. Lawrence. They were English writers. So since Patrick Wright's parents were also impacted by that British life, and they have a system of British living, and while they come to land of Australia, also that Patrick White started being influenced by all these people. Patrick White died 30th September 1990. Patrick Wright, Patrick White, who has written the novel Bose, died 30th September 1990. But his works are constantly source of inspiration to the literary world. He teaches how to live with dignity. The philosophy of Patrick Wright's novel is a great philosophy, just like Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea. Man is not to be disturbed. Man is not to be, not to be bent, not to be even if destroyed, and it should not to be bowed down under any ill circumstances. Man is to be defeated. Man is not to be defeated, but to be destroyed. This is the theme of a Hemingway story, Old Man and the Sea. So Patrick White's theme of technique is that a man should not be bowed down or disturbed by any other evil circumstances, but he or she must have to take all these hazards in his life with strong determination and strong patience and fortitude. All the things must be with this particular hero or heroine of the novel. The central protagonist of the verse is Australia. Just William Shakespeare's historical writings, historical plays, Coriolanus, Richard III, Richard II, Henry IV, Henry V, Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra. All these are historical novels of Shakespeare. But who is the protagonist of all these English novels? That London is a central city of Britain, and that becomes the protagonist. So here also Australia's central city is that Melbourne, or it may be Sydney, and the character is Bose. So Bose is an imaginary character that has been borrowed from the historical events. Historical events is painted with colorful imagination, artistic flavor, with realistic light that gives the representation of Australian life. This is the subject matter of Ghost. So Tom Jones' character is also a lower birth boy who was supposed to be illegal child, Tom Jones, and that was also a joining novel. When Tom Jones was also developed and he became grown up, he started his journey and to marry that another character, and the search for identity was Tom Jones novel. Here, Bose emerges as a distinctive symbol of Australia, nation, the people, the land, the vision of the journey of Bose is a symbolic journey. The search for identity. The search for identity. Bose is the central character of that particular novel, and Patrick White wants to impregnate all his imagination, thoughts, feeling, and literary artistic craftsmanship through this novel's character. And he says that Bose always is in search of identity of Australian people. When Australian identity, Australian climate, Australian people and the land, all these things are also encountered by the particular protagonist. So the character of Bose, the novel presents exploration of Australian climate and the people. The novel explores the climatic situation, environmental pollution, the immigrants' attitude, the native attitude, the class of a culture, that immigrant cultures, the class of a native culture. All these are pictures of Bose novel. So you must know that literature is a mirror of the society, carbon copy of life, carbon copy of day-to-day affairs, the man and manners of the society. So literary forms and terms, they represent actual picture of our society. Suppose you are also visiting cinema, television, the serials, all these things, they are giving the true picture of the society in artistic manner. So this is the color and currency of our society, and how people living, what is attitude, family life, cultural life, social life, socio-economic life, social crisis, eh, political crisis, all these things are being impregnated by a writing that is written by actually either author or novelist or a poet or a prose writer or a biographer or anything else. This is all about the search for everything in relation to life may be the central character of the novel. May be central character of the novel. The human relationship is found in the character of Bose and Laura. Laura is another women character who loves to Bose. There was a relationship just like men and women and women, and a triangular relationship in our society. So human relationship, men and women and men. Thus also gives the picture of a relationship between Bose and Laura, a symbolic material life they were living. But they have neither any physical union nor any sorts of physical relationship with them, but actually imaginatively they love each other, and they start their journey, start their relationship, and tell each other, reciprocate their own emotions and ideas, and they do everything else about the situation, about the climate of Australia, about the people, about the land. All these things have been portrayed by the novelist Patrick White. That's why Patrick White was awarded Nobel Prize for literature. This is a journeying novel. Journeying novel merely tells about the journey of the hello, tell me.
You said that Patrick White was a Nobel laureated novelist, right? And he
Nobel
got
laureate.
this Nobel Prize for this particular Bose, theme of Bose.
Both.
Okay,
Suppose you see, Nobel Prize is focused on a particular novel, but considering all his works, literary works, not a particular
okay, sir.
novel.
Not a
So it is
particular
for
novel, but also all over the
both.
that so much novels and all the literature was footsteps. But
You
he
see, to
just said,
you wait me. That I am telling that
okay, sir.
literary Nobel Prize is awarded to that person who has written a number of either novels or prose poetry, considering all his literary craftsmanship, focusing on a particular work. This is the award of the Nobel Prize. So Swedish
Okay, sir.
novelist.
Got it. Thank you.
This is the so Patrick White was awarded Nobel Prize not for this Bose. but he has written drama, prose, poetry, short story, short fiction, everything else. And that his literary craftsmanship is focused on a particular central novel, but not for a single novel he has been awarded Nobel Prize. Can you understand this is the system of a Nobel Prize? The Swedish committee
Yes, sir.
that
Now I
considers
got
it.
it. That
Okay,
you mean
okay,
to say
okay.
that for not a particular Nobel he didn't get Nobel Prize, but all over the
Ac-
period, like time period, he
uh,
dedicated to literature subject.
Literature, all his literary achievements, along with a particular focus that must be given literary prize, that
Yes, sir.
Nobel
Yes, sir.
Prize. Al-
Yes,
Alfred
sir. But
Alfred Burnham novel, the desire was to give Nobel Prize for six branches. Now it is given, and this is the literature Nobel Prize that we have discussed. Also, various kinds of definitions of novel, classification of novel. Again, I am telling to you and coming to both and discussing about the question answer, giving dictation about the question answer pattern, and it's. Let us come to again from beginning till end. The first point is that origin and growth of Australian novel and the function of Australian novel and how Australian modern novels are being assessed by the literary critics. That modern appreciation of the Australian novel. All these are. So Bose is written by novel laureate, not for that Patrick White who was uh, awarded Nobel Prize in 1991. Novel is a long narrative prose work, literature, literary piece having maximum characters with a plot, subplot. That is a very important characteristic of novel. The classification of novel that I have already told you: historical novel, romantic novel, realistic novel, picaresque novel, that melodramatic novel. Melodramatic is a picture of horror and terror. Suppose the protagonist of the novelist, I am citing one that you will be terribly afraid of having seen the picture attitude of the characters of the novel. So I am citing romantic novel, Jude the Obscure of Thomas Hardy, just like the novel of Bose. That you listen to me, Mayor of the Castrovilli of Thomas Hardy. So Mayor of the Castrovilli means that Thomas Hardy gives actual, let me a little bit, just just wait a little bit. Line was off. My dear, see,
yes, sir.
the main point is that Australian novel started in the 20th century first quarter having two phases. The first phase started 1800 and the second phase start 1900. The first phase recounts the colonial life relating to massive migration and that the hegemony of particular immigrants, those who are living in the land of Australia, uh, their uh, their supremacy was displayed by them. Therefore, this is all about the picture. The first phase. The second phase, novels in Australia represent color and currency of the bush life, the native people, how they were living their life, and all these characters are represented by the novelists. The actual short fictions or short Australian writers influence the writers of long-standing writings with vivid description, with fleshy and flair of imagination. Then modern Australian novel generation begins first phase of the 20th century. The modern Australian novel begins in the first phase of 20th century. Patrick White may be the father of the modern Australian novel. Patrick White may be the father of a modern Australian novel. And Patrick White is an Australian, but he is writing about the particular English tradition. He was strongly impacted by the novelists like D.H. Lawrence, James Joyce, Thomas Thackeray, Thomas Hardy, all these English novelists. Since he was very voraciously, he was a voracious reader, and he himself studied many English literature. And English literature started giving a greater impact in the life of Patrick White and Australian other novel writers. Australian writers like I'm considering, I'm discussing that The development of 20th century of Australian novel passes through various phases, and the categories of the phases are romantic novel, that is Such Easy Life. This is written by H.R. Haggard, and melodramatic fiction is written by one Australian writer, that is Xavier Herbert. He is also an Australian writer. The Man Who Lived in the Land, that is another novel of Australian writer. Historical fictions were written also by the Australian novelist. The historical themes relating to native and also the life of the migrants and other immigrants, they were flowing to the land of Australia. So Peter Carey is another. Peter Carey, who has been awarded also a literature Nobel Prize. Peter Carey is another Australian novelist who has been awarded Nobel Prize for the novel. So Peter Carey gives also different types of picture of the novel, and different color, currency, life, systematic life. All these things are being given by Peter Carey. Then comes aboriginal fiction. Aboriginal fiction means the native writer. The native, you must speak it that Patrick White is a native writer because he was English born. He was born in London, but the parents have been migrated to the country Australia, and he lived in Melbourne. He lived in Sydney. He started his work, and he was doing also job. He was a military man. Then he was served as a professor of English language and literature. He wrote many fictions. His Aboriginal fictions are very much important one. Then let us come to the fact writings. My dear students, you write something that I am giving dictation. Write it. Hello, hello.
Yes, sir.
Write. Novel is a long narrative prose piece. Long narrative prose piece of literature having maximum characters with plot and subplots. With plot and subplot. Plot and subplot. Subplot and subplot. American novelist Miriam Crawford. American novelist Miriam Crawford. Crawford. Crawford says novel is a pocket theatre. Novel is a pocket theatre. Meredith 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 says it is a summary of actual life. It is a summary of actual life. Henry Fielding, another novelist, says that it is a mock epic in prose. It is a mock epic in prose. Mock means mock
Sir,
means
can you please repeat the last line?
mock epic in prose. Henry Fielding says this is the definition of novel. The novelists are Richardson, Fielding, Virginia Woolf, Jane Austen, D. H. Lawrence, James Joyce, Charles Dickens, Thomas Hardy. All these English novelists, they give impact upon the Australian novel. Richardson's Henry Fielding, Virginia Woolf, Jane Austen, D. H. Lawrence, James Joyce, Charles Dickens, Thomas Hardy, Thomas Hardy, all these are English novelists, and American novelists like Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway, Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, Scott Fitzgerald, they gave impact upon the writings of Australian novels. Australian novels. The beginning of novel writing in Australia, the beginning of novel writing in Australia falls into two phases. Falls into two phases. Number one, first phase 1800. First phase begins in 1800, 1822. Second phase 1922, double zero, double zero. First phase 1800, second phase 1900. In 1800, first phase, 1900, second phase. The first phase recounts the colonial life. The first phase recounts the colonial life relating to massive migration. The colonial life relating to massive migration. The sorrows and suffering, the sorrows and suffering, the trials and tribulations, trials and tribulations, chaos and confusion are are the constituents of the first phase Australian novel. The first phase Australian novel. The suffering of the native Australian, the suffering of the native Australian and the hegemony of the colonial
Sir,
persons,
can you please repeat the line, the suffering of the.
native Australians hegemony and colonial hegemony over them are the prime subject of Australian novels. Are the prime subject of Australian novels. The English novelist like Richardson's Pamela, Pamela, Pamela means this is the protagonist, a women protagonist. Pamela. Richardson's Pamela, Henry Fielding, Henry Fielding's Tom Jones. These are the two first written English novels. First written English novel in 16th and 18th century England. Two novels gave impact upon the Australian modern novelist. Hemingway, the
Excuse me, sir.
American novelist,
Novels gives impact on.
impact on Australian novelist. Impact on Australian novelist. Ernest Hemingway's novel The Old Man and the Sea. Ernest Hemingway's novel The Old Man and the Sea influence influenced the Australian novelist to write their novels to write their novels in the English style. In English style, the technique of Vox, Vaux, Vox is another novel. Vox, Harris, Vox, Harris, Harric, James Ticker, 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 and Henry Kingsley. These are the modern Australian novelists. James Ticker, Henry Kingsley are the important Australian novelists of 20th century who are the important Australian novelist of 20th century who represent the real character of the native Australian as well as the white settlers. White settlers. The second phase novel of Australia, the second phase novel of Australia represent color and currency of bush life. Bush life. You know bush life. Stop a little bit. What is bush life? Bush life means I have already told you that urban life and bush life. Bush is a symbol. Symbol means the interior go back of Australian people. Bush is a symbol of the attitude, climate, search for identity, their sorrows, their suffering, their economic crisis, political crisis, socio-economic cultural crisis, all these things about Bush. Bush is a symbolic character of Australian people. So actually, the short fictions, it relates to the short story that I have taught you. Short fictions influence to write long fiction. Long fiction means this novel. Long fiction. Influence to write long fiction with vivid description of realistic a realistic portrait. Portrait. Portrait means pictures. Realistic picture of the people they live on the land. People they live on the land. The modern Australian novel generation, the modern Australian novel generation begins from first part of the 20th century. Begins from first part of the 20th century.
Sir, please repeat that line again.
Then the modern Australian novel. Then the modern Australian novel generation begins from the first part of 20th century. Patrick White may be Patrick White may be father of a modern Australian novel. Father of a modern Australian novel. Who establishes the reality of life in general and Australian life in particular. Who establishes
Who establishes?
the reality in general and Australian life in particular. In particular, that we have already discussed short fiction writers of 20th century, short fiction writers of 20th century strongly influenced to the first phase fiction writer of Australia. The first phase fiction writer of Australia.
Sir, repeat that line again, please.
The short fiction writers influence the novelist of 20th century Australia. The novelist of 20th century Australia. Judith White, that I have told you, Judith White, Judith, Judith White, Judith Wright, WRIG, Judith Wright of Australia has her given her voice in that telling that the true novelist is he or she. The true novelist is he or she who gives the real picture of day-to-day affairs of the people and land. The real picture of day-to-day affairs and people and the land. Stop it. Another paragraph you write. Then I will discuss and then we will go to Bose, the original novel. The development of 20th century Australian novel, the development of 20th century Australian novel passes through passes through various phases with various category with various category. Stop. They were categorized one, two, three, four, five like it. Romantic fiction hyphen such is the life is the romantic novel. Such is the life. Such is the life. SUCH. Such is the life. In 1903, 1903, and H.R. Haggard, H.R. Haggard, H.R. Haggard, Haggard, Haggard's novel Fugitive Anne, Fugitive, Fugit, Fugitive Anne, 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 1902. Number two is melodramatic fiction. Number two, melodramatic fiction, which deals with horror and terror, which deals with horror and terror. Melodramatic novels.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, H.R. Haggard's novel Fugitive. What that novel? Can you please repeat that name?
Fugitive Anne, 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 Anne is a name, proper name. Fugitive Anne, written in 1902. You must give while you are answering general question. All these are the systematic criticism of a modern Australian novel, origin, growth, and development. This is one question, very important one. And therefore, I am giving you dictation. Then we will go to different types of novels and main novel, that is Voice of Patrick White, because melodramatic fiction deals with horror and terror, horror and terror, tragedy and trauma, tragedy and trauma, TRAUMMA, tragedy and trauma, sorrow and suffering, sorrow and suffering of the protagonist, of the protagonist. This is about the characteristic feature of a melodramatic novel. The question may come that how many kinds of novels are there, what kinds of constituents they take it, what is the craftsmanship of novelist to impregnate all these thorough feeling and thoughts. You must give this melodramatic novels has such quality. Then this deals with that. Xavier Herbert's Xavier Xavier Herbert Herbert Herbert's Capricornia is another novel. Capri, Capricornia, Capricornia, and Christina Stead. Last time I was telling Christina Stead, Christina Stead, Stead, Steads, the man who lived, the man who lived, another novel. This is full of horror and terror. This is melodramatic novel. Then you come to in the history of historical fiction. Historical fiction. Historical fiction deals the themes deals the themes of history, history, history of either immigrants or white settlers or native of the land or original natives. Their history with a particular story having a protagonist. With a particular story having a protagonist. Suppose the novelist, stop writing. Suppose the novelist is going to describe a historical novel. This is Bose. Bose is a particular novel that historical events that a couple means husband and wife were going to meet their sister, and on the land of Wales they were captured by some natives of that particular land. They started torturing and tormenting, and their feelings, their attitude. This is the picture through a single man family, and that tells about the entire identity of Australian people, sorrows and suffering of the people, how natives were tortured by the immigrants, by the white settlers, by the migrated people from other land. This is about a historical novel. Right. Historical fiction relates the theme to the historical events with realistic picture of the land and the people of writer lives. The land and the people, comma,
Sir,
the writer
with
lives.
a realistic picture and
Realistic picture of land and the people, the writer lives. The writer lives. Peter Carey presents. Peter Carey presents the comic concept of Australian colonial life. Peter Carey. Peter Carey is another Australian modern novelist who tells the story of Australian colonial life. Australian colonial life. Peter Carey. Then fourth category is a realistic novel of modern Australia. Realistic novel of modern Australia or realistic fiction gives the picture of a socio-cultural economic life. Gives
sir,
the
can you please
culture
repeat again from start?
re- realistic fiction of modern Australia give the picture of a socio-cultural economic life economic life, the sordid downtrodden earthly life hyphen the sordid downtrodden earthly life may be the another central point of the writer. Maybe another central point of the writer. All these novels are written by the writers like Stare, Stare, Stare.
Sir, can you please repeat that line again?
All these writers are Stare, 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 Joan, Jonh, Joan, Kenneth, Kenneth, etc. Then comes to the last phase writer of modern Australia, Aboriginal fiction. This is another category. Aboriginal fiction means native fiction. Aboriginal fiction. Aboriginal fiction is also remarkable Aboriginal fiction is also remarkable segment of Australian literature in 20th century, of Australian literature in 20th century. Aborigines are considered as Aborigines means native people. Aborigines are considered as subaltern, SUB-ALTARN, subaltern, social category. Stop. They protest, they protest by raising their voice. They protest by raising their voice. They protest by raising their voice against the feeling, against the feeling of the white settlers, against the feeling of the white settlers, against the feeling of the white settlers. Narogin, another novelist, Narogin, 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 apostrophe S, Narogin's Long Life, this is a novel. Long Life, Long, Long Life, Monica Clare, Monica, Monica Clare, Clare, Monica Clare, Carobran is another novel. Karobran, Carobran are such category means aboriginal category. Aboriginal category. The women novelists, the women novelists of Australia raise their voices against against social injustice and lack of their legal rights and lack of their legal rights and lack of their legal rights. Really, Aboriginal voice is found is found in the
Sir,
modern.
can you please repeat that?
Really, Aboriginal voice is found in each novel of modern Australia, having having the feeling and emotions of the people of the land, having the feeling and emotion of the people of the land. This is all about the characteristic feature of modern Australian novel. Then we come to the Vos. Vos, another page. Vos. Let us come to another page. Vos.
Sir, sir, can you please repeat that last line? The modern Australia having
The voice of a modern Australian novel. They represent the voice of modern Australian novel. This is all about origin, growth, and development of a modern Australian novel. And then we will come to our prime subject, VOS, VOSS, VOS. Right? VOS gives the theme of human relationship. This is another question. VOS gives the theme of human relationship and exploration of Australia, exploration of Australia. You stop a little bit, listen to me how Bose is a historical novel or an historical novel. A historical or an historical novel. Listen, Bose is a historical novel. The novelist Patrick White borrows the historical events from the history of Australia, history of migration, and painted with the artistic color of his craftsmanship and presented a novel Bose. The historical characters that I will tell in the novel and Laura and Bose. Bose is also a imaginary character who symbolizes, just like Shakespeare's historical character England in his historical plays like Richard III, Richard II, Anthony Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, all these guys. You write it. Patrick White, right? Patrick White, the writer, was born in 1912, who is a Nobel laureate. Patrick Wright, Patrick White, the writer, was born in 1912 of Australian parents in England. Then their family migrated to Australia, migrated to Australia, where he got his education and work. Where he got his education and work. His novels present, his novels present, his novels present the socio-cultural and economic life of Australia. The novels present the socio-cultural economic life of Australia. His, his first novel is his first novel is Happy Valley, Happy, Valley, Happy Valley, underline it, Happy Valley, which is based upon which is based upon the life of a snow country, life of a snow country of New South Wales, New South Wales, NEWSOT, South Wales, WALES. This is a place that is always snow falling, snow country. Second paragraph you write. Then I will give dictation. You write the the sense of quest may be significant aspect aspect of the novel.
Sir, the sense of quest may be significant.
Aspect, ASPECT, aspect of the novel of a Patrick Bose, of a Patrick White, Bose, Bose is very important. This is based upon authentic historical event. This is based upon historical events, authentic historical event. Stop. This may
Sir, can you
be.
please repeat that line?
This is based upon authentic historical event. Historical event. This may be considered as this may be considered as historical novel. Historical novel. This may be considered as historical novel. This is based upon actual experience of Elijah. Elijah is a character, historical character. Elijah, Elijah, Elijah. This is based upon an actual historical character, Elijah Fazer, F-R-A-Z-E-R, Elijah Fazer. Stop. She was a 20th century English woman. She was she was 19th century English woman who accompanied with her husband Van Deman, Van Deman, V-A-N-D-E-M-E-N, D-E-M-E-N. Van Deman is another character of her husband. This is a real historical incident that Elijah, along with her husband Van Deman, started journey to South Wales in 19th century to visit their brother, to visit her brother, Elijah's brother, who was living there. But unfortunately, they were captured by. Unfortunately, the ship was wrecked. Ship was wrecked. Shipwrecked. Wrecked. Wrecked.
Sir,
Uh,
but
un-
what?
but unfortunately, ship was wrecked up. Wrecked up. W-R-A-C-K-E-D. Wrecked up. Double F. Wrecked up. Wrecked up. The Queensland. Queensland is a place where this shipwreck occurred. Queensland in West Coast. In West Coast. In the month of May 1939. In the month of May 1939. Month of 39. This is, you underline that month of 39. This is the historical original incident that has been borrowed by, stop a little bit. This is the historical original incident that has been borrowed by Patrick White, the real story, and painted with his artistic, colorful imagination. Hello,
Listen.
tell.
Yes, sir. Sir, here you said that unfortunately, that means they didn't completed their visit towards her brother, and in
Yes, yes,
between
yes.
this period, what
Eh,
happened to them?
happened, the wrecked up. Unfortunately, the shipwrecked in a storm, sea storm. But their desire was not fulfilled to meet her sister. And
Sir, they died.
no, no, survived, but captured by the aborigines, captured by the natives of that land.
Okay, sir.
And they started torturing them. This is the subject matter of a historical incident. Achha, you write it. Aborigines captured her. Her means her husband was not traced so far. He met the lamentable doom, and Aborigines captured that Elijah. Stop. While writing historical event, Patrick also looks into, while writing historical event, Patrick also looks into romantic and realistic dimension. While writing historical events, Patrick also looks into romantic and realistic dimension mystically. Patrick also looks into the realistic and romantic dimension mystically. You listen to me. What is romantic? While telling a story, a novelist always looks into the interest of the reader. That is the willing suspension of disbelief. He is a real artist who can look into the art with much more interest, and that will draw the willing suspension of disbelief. That is the real picture of an artist. So Shakespeare, Keats, Shelley, Byron, all these are great artists. Who are the great artists? Who are the classical artists? Whose art is universally appealed, universally accepted by the people. The reader will highly appreciate them. That is the good art. A good art must have a universal reveal, universal acceptability. You write it then. So Patrick White was also an was also an African novelist. He started writing historical events with his colorful art and attracts the attention of the universal readers. That's why the novel Bose becomes a universal readable novel that is just like a hot cake. It was accepted by the people the moment it was written. Next you write. Next paragraph. Patrick White was strongly influenced by, you can present it in your answer. Patrick White was strongly influenced by English novelists. Patrick White was strongly influenced by English novelists. Hyphen write it. D.H. Lawrence, D.H. Lawrence, James Joyce, Joyce, James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, Virginia Woolf, Virginia Woolf, and so others. Stuff. His poetry means Patrick White's poetry. Poetry, drama, short fictions also represent the influence of T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot, the great classic writer of 20th century, reflects T.S. Eliot, the great classic writer of 20th century. Patrick White was following the art of T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot was a great poet, a dramatist, who has been awarded a Nobel Prize for Literature in 1969, 65. T.S. Eliot, who has written that I have yesterday told you that Hollow Man, that Cactus Land, that Four Quartets, Westland, London Bridge is falling down, falling down. This is a great classic writer who has been awarded Nobel Prize for Literature in 1965. That is Eliot. So Patrick White is a strong follower of T.S. Eliot. A strong follower of T.S. Eliot. Then you write, Patrick White died on the 13th September. Patrick White died on the 30th September 1990. 1990. 1990. He was dead. But his works are but his works are the constant source of inspiration. His works are the constant source of inspiration to the literary world. To the literary world. He teaches. His writings teaches, or he teaches how to live with dignity. He teaches how to live with dignity, finding strength in suffering, not to be bowed down, not to be bowed down in any other evil circumstances, not to be bowed down in any other evil circumstances. Hemingway's Ernest Hemingway, E. Hemingway, American novelist. E. Hemingway, wait,
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
E. Hem-
finding strength during suffering, not to bow down, then
not to be bowed down. Stop here. Not to be bowed down. Hyphen, rather to be destroyed. Rather to be destroyed. That means you write the line, destruction is better than defeation. Destruction is better than defeation is the voice of a voice. Is the voice of a voice. Destruction is better than defeatation is the voice of a boss, like Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea. Like Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea. You understand me? That then I will tell. Destruction is better than defeatation. So I am telling briefly about the story of Ernest Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea. Old Man and the Sea. That means an old man about 70 age was going to deep of the sea for fishing with a small boy. But long days lived in the sea without a single fish. He was an old man who lived alone in the Gulf Stream. This is the first line of Hemingway. He was an old man who lived alone in the old sea. But hundreds of days he was not finding a single fish, but he was in search of a whale. All of a sudden, he was suffering a lot. Even if he in fasting, he was eating about the flesh of the rotten fishes, the flesh of the rotten fishes in the sea. Ultimately, he found a great whale uh, in him, and a shark fish. He caught it, brought to the shore. Ultimately, he dead. He was dead, but the the fish was brought to the shore. The protagonist was dead. He was destroyed, but he was defeated by the any old circumstances. So Patrick White's novel raises the same voice. Write it. The central protagonist of a boss, the central protagonist of a boss is Australia. Is Australia. Is Australia. Just as William Shakespeare's, just as you will write it, William Shakespeare's historical plays, underline historical plays, hyphen, Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra. Julius Caesar, 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 you write it correct English. Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus, Coriolanus, Coriolanus is a character, historical character. Richard III, Richard II, Antony and Cleopatra, Antony and Cleopatra. Mark Antony was emperor of Rome. Cleopatra was an Egyptian queen. These were the historical characters painted by that Shakespeare. That Richard III, Richard II, Antony and Cleopatra have the central protagonist, have the central protagonist, the city England, the city England, in the land of Britain. Britain. In Britain, England is the central city like Melbourne and Sydney of Australia. Melbourne and Sydney of Australia. The title of the novel is to emphasize the character of Bhass. The title of the novel emphasizes the character of Bhass. Bhass's expedition through journey. Bhass's expedition through journey gathers gathers so many experiences like Henry Fielding's Tom Jones, underline. The works you must underline it. This is technique of writing, research writing. Experiences of Henry Fielding's Tom Jones, Tomjones, Tom Jones, comma, known as journey of known as known as journeying novel. During journey, Voss came across Laura the character. During his journey, Voss came across Laura the character, the women character. Stuff. Then Voss has been then Voss has been fascinated by TC symbolic character Laura, symbolic character Laura, because of her, because of her, because of her real search for identity, because of her real search for identity. Next paragraph. Bose emerges as a distinctive symbol. Bose emerges as a distinctive symbol of Australian nation and people of the land. The vision of Bose may be symbolic, search for self, search for identity, search for knowledge, search for
Uh,
self, search for
Excuse me,
identity,
sir.
search for.
Sir, can you
Hello,
please repeat that line again?
the vision of Bose may be search for identity, search for knowledge, search for self. Therefore, White, therefore Patrick White is a great artist for his universal, universal acceptability, universal acceptability. The final touch. The novel presents exploration of Australian climate. The novel presents the exploration of Australian climate, the exploration of Australian climate and the people with the theme of with the themes of love, longing, loss, longing, loss, and romance. Love, longing, loss, and romance that go through loss and again. That go through loss and again. Laura says, Laura says, one of the characters that I have already told you, Laura says, so I am I am fascinated by you. Laura says to Bose, write the line, underline, colon mark. I am fascinated by you. You are my desert. Dot dot inverted comma. You are my desert. Desert is highly symbolic. Desert is highly symbolic. You know desert means what is it? Desert? You must know it. It creates the optical illusion in the minds of the traveler in the desert land, in the source of the water. The travelers in the desert, they always in search of water. Either a small oasis will be found or not. So desert is a place that it creates the impression of a pull in the minds of the traveler. This is an optical illusion, and that is out of a total internal reflection. So desert creates the impression of a pull in the minds of the travelers, those who start in the desert, but they do not find a drop of water. But very rarely they find any oasis of the desert. So this is all about the symbolic representation for Patrick White, who is a great artist. The exploration of the land and the people, write it. The exploration of the land and the people may be central theme of verse, may be central theme of verse. Verse represents human relationship in a cosmic manner, in a cosmic manner. Cosmic manner means universal manner. You must understand what is cosmic manner. Dhos is considered a mock epic in a prose, a mock epic in a prose. Mock means also epic meaning grandeur. Epic, you know that the Ramayana and Mahabharata, these are the epics of Hindu scripture, Iliad and Odyssey. These scriptures are that blind poet Homer written as the Milton written on his blindness, and paradise regained, paradise gained, paradise lost. These are the epic. Mock-epic in prose means the critical assessment of the people of the land of Australia has been given voluminously in his work. Therefore, it is a mock-epic in prose. It may come in question form that critically appreciate Bose as a mock-epic. That means question two. You can write it. Finally, I am giving written touch. You write Bose may be considered as a mock-epic in prose or a zoning novel or search for identity or a search for self or a search for knowledge. These are the dimension of a Bose novel. This is the structure of the novel, themes of the novel, and then write some questions. I will give the discussion about the final thoughts. Questions on Bose. General question, and there will be an alternative question of the theme. The theme and the structure. Always there is in literature, the questions are set by the questioner. Always the questioner wants to give two process of questions alternatively. One is on the theme, other is on the structure. So you must appreciate whatever you like, either a structural basis of a verse or a thematic basis of a verse. Thematic basis is the Australian picture and the immigrant picture, the storage and suffering. Structure is the plot, character, setting, all these are the structure of the novel. So our body must have some theme that is like mind and body. These are structure and theme. You must mind is theme, body is theme, all these. Questions you write on verse. The general question on a modern Australian literature, right? Give a critical note of development of modern Australian novel. Give a critical note of modern Australian novel. Critical note on the development of modern Australian novel. Or question, or alternative question, right? Briefly summarize the growth and development of a 20th century Australian novel. Briefly summarize the growth and development of a 20th century Australian novel. Number two, this is only general question. Then we are going to the theme. Theme. This is the structure. The questioner will always set the question basing upon theme and structure. The the students must have to select it either thematic aspect or structural aspect. You must practice writing just before going to the examination. You write in number two, justify the title of the novel verse. Justify the title of the novel verse. How can justify verse? Verse is a protagonist. Verse is the central character. Verse is about Shakespeare's England. All these I will discuss question just after finishing. Uh, Number three question. Verse is a joining novel. Discuss. Quotation. Single quote. Beginning and ending. Verse is a joining novel. Joining novel. Discuss. Number four. The novel Voice of Patrick White. The novel Voice of Patrick White may be a picture gallery of Australian 20th century. The novel Voice of Patrick White may be a picture gallery of Australian in 20th century. Discuss. Discuss. Quotation mark. Number five. This is the last question. Right. Give a critical appreciation of the technique, theme and technique of the novel. This is the amalgamated
Can
mixture.
you repeat the
Both
question again? Last question.
give give a critical appreciation of a theme and technique of the novel both. Last question, six, write it. The novel Voice of a Patrick White is not merely a joining novel, not merely a joining novel, but search for self, search for self oblique knowledge oblique identity. Stop. Discuss.
Sir,
Let us
can you
come.
please repeat the last question? The novel was
Novel Voice of Patrick White is not merely a joining novel, but
okay.
it is a search for knowledge, oblique, search for identity, oblique, search for self. Stop, quotation mark says, discuss. These are the 6 questions of a boss. Let us come to discuss one by one. Any, my dear student, any person have got any question, sample question from Google, not of IGNO? No. Let me discuss. Give a critique of a development of Australian novel. I have given the dictation, the written portion that this is about the Australian novel. Then let us discuss briefly. Australian 20th century novel is based upon different climatic vision and the real picture of the natives and the attitude of immigrants and the attitude of white settlers and the hegemony of the patriots or expatriates. And this is all about the torture and tormentation of the people, how they were living, what was the climatic situation, what is the socio-cultural picture, what were about economic crisis. All these are the pictures of Australian 20th century novel. That is a picture gallery of entire socio-cultural and that is the climatic life of Australian people. This is all about the first question. Number two, justify title of novel Boss. Boss is an imaginary character. That is not a real character. The protagonist of the novel Boss is Boss itself, and he is a historical character brought by Patrick White, and Boss always is search for his identity, search for his self, search for the knowledge, and simple historical incident has been borrowed by Patrick White from the history, and then he started painting it with artistic color and his colorful imagination to represent the realistic picture of that modern Australia. The modern Australian people, since that the writer Patrick White himself was an Australian, birth in England, but brought up in Australia, out of the Australian parents, he must have the ample knowledge about Australian people. So the purpose of Bhas is to justify the nature of the men of Australia and how Australian people are taking their all sorts of life in every dimension. So that is a journey. Joining novel means from beginning till end, from an initial point to the target. That is the journey of a traveler. A traveler means boss is also a protagonist, just the central of Australia, that is Sydney or Melbourne, just like Shakespeare's historical plays, Richard III, Richard II, Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus, and all these historical plays has the central character England, and this is all about a joining novel. Then Voss of Patrick White to be a picture gallery of Australia discuss. A picture gallery gives the impression, the visible capacity of different pictures, pictures of the good, pictures of the bad, pictures of the also different types of geographical, historical pictures, cultural pictures, all the pictures. The gallery gives different types of pictures. So the novel thus gives the different types of pictures of the different classes, socio-cultural classes like oppressed class, depressed class, deprecated class, appreciated class, like higher birth, lower birth, the criticism of their life and how they take life, how the people, the anarchists, they go on torturing to the people. All these things are being the picture gallery of Hoss. Give a critical appreciation of the theme and the technique of Hoss. This is the fifth question. What is the critical appreciation of Voss? Means Voss gives a realistic picture. That picture is about Australia. That picture just Shakespeare gives in his drama like Richard III, Richard II, Henry IV, Henry V, and Antony Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, Coriolanus. All these are historical plays of Shakespeare. So Judith Wright is another also Australian critic, a women critic who has given about the criticism of Voss that Voss is really a picture guerrilla of Australian society. Just like that Judith Wright has compared that Voss character to the character of England. That is Shakespeare's historical play. All these things are supposed to be actually highly artistic, only for which that Patrick Hayt was universally accepted by the people, and he was awarded Nobel Prize for Literature, and especially his first work. I have already told you the important work that is Voss. My dear question, ask my dear student, ask any question about the things that
Hello, sir.
yes,
Sir, sir, I
yes,
have some
yes,
previous questions. Can I ask now?
okay,
Yes, sir.
tell any,
Uh,
ask any
in,
question.
yes, sir. It is in 2019 question. See, it is
Yes.
saying that Woes is a complex novel with several layers of meaning. Discuss. Sir, in this question, we will write all the things, the same thing which
Yes, yes,
you
yes.
dictate
You
now.
give the question. Boss is a complex novel.
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Woes is a
Complex.
complex novel with
Yes.
several layers of meaning.
With
Discuss.
several layers of meaning. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Each and every literary piece of work must have a certain target. The writer either may be poet or may be novelist, more and a short fiction writer or a dramatist must have a vision. You will start just like way. So Bose, writer Patrick White has taken the historical incident, a mere historical incident, to discuss it in a grand manner with the picture of different layers. The picture of self identity, the picture of self-knowledge, the picture of search for identity. These are the different layers that the questioner has given you. Layers of search for identity, search for self, search for knowledge. All these are the 3 to 4 different layers of Bose. So Bose is simply a historical character, and that has been borrowed by Patrick White and painted with colorful imagination of aesthetic flavor that gives it the search for identity in the sense that how Australian people live, what is their belonging, what is their future, what is going to be happened, what has happened. This is also the identity. And layer, another layer, the oppressed, depressed, deprecated, appreciated people in the society. There are different types of people, haves and have nots, is it not? And all these peoples, they go through the picture of a boss. And this is one layer. Another layer is sharper knowledge. Knowledge means a man should be defeated. Sorry, a man should be destroyed, not to be defeated. This is another vision. We are not bowed by any other evil circumstances, rather, we have to face it. The Buddhistic philosophy says that try to face the danger, not to deprecate it. So, any other odd and evil situations may teach you better than the non-illy persons. So, Bose has a different layers of living, self-knowledge, search for knowledge, search for identity, search for self. Self means identity of an individual. Maybe you, maybe I. This is all about the question answer. Another, ask any question. Can you understand, my
Yes,
dear?
sir. Sir, it is quite similar to the sixth question which you dictate now.
Yes, yes. It is
Yes, sir.
not 60%, but 70%, 80%. So ask any
Yes, sir.
question. Any
Sir, I
question?
have another question.
Yes.
It is in 18th December 2018. So
Yes.
here it is written that discuss White's portrayal of nature in Voice.
Rather, let me to write it, but I cannot understand. I cannot follow you. Ask any question. That what is the question?
Discuss Patrick
Yes.
White's portrayal of nature in Voice.
Nature in verse.
Yes,
White,
sir.
white, double white.
Yes, sir. White. Huh.
But again, repeat the question. I cannot follow. Question.
Yes, sir. The question
Yes.
is discuss Patrick White's portrayal. That means he is portraying of nature in Voice. How he
Oh.
represented the nature of Voice.
Yes, yes, yes. I understand. Patrick White is a Nobel laureate who is universally accepted by the people of the world. His novel voice is a landmark in the history of, not in the history of Australia, but in the history of world literature. So these Patrick White represent different pictures, different portraits. The portrait not it is also artistic by the color. The color of imagination it is a pen portrait of Australian life, but a simply historical incident. A husband and a wife, a couple started a journey to South Wales. By the shipwreck, a storm was sea storm that wrecked them, devastated them. But fortunately, that Elijah, who was a historical character, represents to Laura, and was captured by the natives. Is it not? The native people captured her because they were displaying their hegemony, supremacy over them. That was their grudge, how to take revenge upon the colonizer. The colonized impression. That is, though Patrick White belongs to a royal class family, he does not have any suffering of his childhood. He was highly educated in Melbourne and he was teaching, he was a military man, he was a strenuous person. His boss is also the same like the character. So Patrick White in disguise is a boss. There is none. What boss has seen that Patrick White has seen in different layers, different phases, different pictures of the society in modern Australia. This is all about the and 70% of my written work you must write it. Another question, ask any.
Sir,
Hello.
there is one question in 2020, December
Hel-
2020. Here it is
Yes.
written that what is the contribution of Patrick White to the Australian novel?
Oh, oh, Australian novel. That is a long question also. You write it, a descriptive question.
Yes.
Patrick, you can write that Patrick White is a great artist. His art is universally appealed. He is universally accepted. He was the first father of the Australian novel. His novel Voss is the most important one, and only because of it is a symbolic journey. So Patrick White himself wanted to give the voice of the Voss is the voice of the people of Australia. The voice of Voss is the voice of people of Australia. So White's artistic imagination is very much great and grand because the philosophy of life is impregnated here. That philosophy means the vision of life, the attitude of life. A man should not be defeated, rather to be destroyed. Any other circumstances, a man is to face the different odds situations and a man. This is the philosophy that Patrick White teaches. Another vision. Vision is about the vision of life. Life is neither a tempest nor a midsummer night's dream, but as you like it. That I answer it in Shakespeare play. Life is neither a tempest nor a midsummer night's dream, but nor winter's tale, but as you like it. This is the voice of a boss. This is the voice of a boss. Life is neither a tempest nor midsummer night's dream, nor winter's tale. Aima Kani Mala Sito Sandhyara. But it is just like as you like it is a play. Tempest is a play. and Winterstale is a play. Through Shakespeare, I have answered. This is the voice of a boss, and this is the artistic ability, thematic aspect, structural aspect, visionary aspect. All these are artistically woven by Patrick White, for which he is a great artist. A great artist is he who has felt the situation of the life he leads, the land he lives. This is all about the character of a great artist that goes to the art of Patrick White. Can you understand, my dear? That is
Yes, sir.
a
Yes,
man
sir. Sir, if this question is coming, like what is the contribution of a Patrick White? That means it is related to Vos, right?
to not related, but it is centrally related to both. And
Yes, sir.
other novels you will give a little bit about. I can give that
Yes.
Patrick White
Some
historical novel.
some names of
Very
other
one
novels.
other novels very little, one to
Okay.
two novel. So
Yes.
his first novel and the last
Hmm.
novel, Happy Valley. Happy Valley.
Yes, sir.
You will give the picture of Happy Valley and Bhos. This is enough because within in two to three your answer will be confined. That is not you are writing history
Yes.
detailing, is it not? Just
Yes,
like
sir.
the entire 60 pages of your book, block 5, I am confined within 2 hours. Is it easy to confine it, my dear? Tell it,
No,
it
sir.
is
No.
very difficult.
No, sir.
It is
No.
very.
No.
Now, going through details of the novel, giving the social development of that Australian novel, also dictating some answers to the students and giving the discussing to the question answers, it takes a long time. You ask any question, that a Patrick White achievement. Only two novels you will give. There is the first novel that I have cited you. What is the
Understood.
first novel?
Happy
First
Valley.
novel of Happy Valley.
Happy Valley.
Ha-
Yes.
ha- Happy Valley represents, I am telling, Happy Valley represents the of a childhood of a particular Patrick White. He was brought up in the soil of England first, and that was a happy valley to him, symbolically happy valley, Australian land, since he is a native of the Australia. So happy valley is a description of the climatic environmental situation of Australia, economic crisis, the immigrant attitude, the white settlers attitude, the hegemony or supremacy of that white settlers over the original natives. These are also, this was a great happy valley, but it has been turned into unhappy one. In this way, you will comprise and contrast these two novels, Happy Valley and Boss. And another question, ask me, ask, are you satisfied, my dear, or ask any
Yes, sir.
question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm very much satisfied. Thank you so much.
You answer. You give another any sorts of discussion. There is 5 or 10 minutes. We should not leave it unnecessarily. We must discuss it very pleasurably. Laura is a quiet Laura character of Laura. If that is very small question may come. Laura is a quiet, quiet, reserved woman, but gradually is drawn towards the search for identity by the touch of boss. Laura is a character. Do you know? Boss is another character. And Laura is a woman, English woman, and she gradually shares the hazards of the troubles of boss. Sometimes she reciprocates, and that Laura is also a woman who gets her journey just like boss, the journey of his, her attitude, and she is considered as the progressive women gradually, and search for knowledge, search for a self, search for identity, search for vision. That means I am citing another example of that Nobel laureate. You must know Nobel laureate, that another novelist who has been awarded Nobel Prize for Literature. Uh, that universal novel, Bhas, is supposed to be very much important one. Australia was really discovered by Captain Cook, in 1770, and British British colonel that was that British fleet came to land of Botany Bay in 1778. After 8 years, Captain Cook discovered Australia. The British colonel or British team came to soil through Botany Bay, that is a bay. And in this period, it was a crisis of the economy, crisis of the politics, the crisis of the different types of sociological imagination. So in this way, Voss is supposed to be representing that quality and quantity of the vision of that particular Patrick White. Tell another question we will discuss. Only 10 minutes are left. Ask. Hello, I
Yes,
am
sir.
discussing about another nature of a joining novel. Nature of a joining novel. Joining novel means a novel which deals with the attitude of a protagonist who starts his journey from an initial point to the journey of the target. So suppose that journey may not be physical one. That journey may be psychic journey, that may be psychic journey, mental journey, intellectual journey, economic journey, social journey. All these are journey. Journey is not physically represented; it is highly symbolic. I am citing example about the birth. My dear, light has gone out. Let me see. Light has gone out. Joining novel. Joining novel means you see the marriage ceremony of Ambani family and how much amount they have invested. Their journey is a search for wealth, search for wealth, search for power. The politicians have a journey, search for not knowledge, not vision, but search for material gain. They have search for material gain. So a philosophical man always takes the search for philosophy of life, how to live. An intellectual man is always always searches for the intellect, the knowledge, the wisdom. Is it not, my dear? All about
Yes,
this.
sir.
This is a joining novel. Thank you. Best of the luck. Because of light has gone out, I have to bid farewell from you. Ask last question me. Ask any last question. Are you
No, sir.
satisfied?
Sir, I am satisfied from my side. It is, I am fully satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye. Bye.
Good night, sir.
Hello. Uh, any question of anybody that Chabi or Tejas or any other ask any question? Last question.
Sir, Tejas is, I am Supriya, sir. In Tejas
Oh,
ID, Tejas
Supriya.
is my sir. Yes.
Yes, I cannot see you. Supriya, you ask last question. I will be happy. Ask last question.
Uh, no, sir. I don't have any other questions regarding this matter. Actually, you clearly described the questions very
You have
clearly, sir.
comprehended all these things.
Yes, sir.
And Tejas ask question. Supriya, Chabi, ask any question. So let us take last line. The vision of a boss is the vision of a must be vision of everyone. You must be vision of a search for knowledge, search for your identity, search for yourself. This must be vision of each and every individual what boss teaches us. Is it not? This must be. Thank you. Best
Yes,
of
sir.
the luck. I wish tomorrow we'll be teaching about the
Block six.
block block 6,
Block six. Yes.
the contemporary Australian poetry. Means the poetry from 702 onwards, 1970 onwards, till about 100 years, perhaps I hope for 30 years, this is 50 years poetry will be studying tomorrow. And the last day is the removal history of 5th April. Is it not? Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Best of.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Good night, sir.